little bit. So
There you go. Yeah. Drink responsibly tonight, everybody who's doing anything from on the outside of their houses. But yeah, I will be staying in. So I'm excited to build some lineups. I've already built a couple this afternoon, seeing how it was digesting. How are you looking at this week 17 slate in general?
um some question marks with what's going to happen this week with some teams potentially sitting some players.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's kind of wide open. I think when we start diving into this DFS slate, uh the tight end spot I think is going to be a key factor this week. There's a lot of good potential out there and super cheap in the tight end spot. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's a lot of different factors you have to think about with week 17 and
quarterbacks are
18.
out. Yeah,
Yep.
it's
The motivation becomes a factor, which is crazy to think about in professional football, but it definitely is. We saw that on full force on Thursday night as the Titans just said, hey, let's not play our players on Thursday night and let's get ready for week 18. So there are certain spots I think we can fade and exploit. So we'll dive into those as well. And if you guys are tuning in on Twitch or YouTube, throw your comments in the chat. We can see you guys. We have some first timers here, so I appreciate you guys tuning in. But yeah, I think there are a couple. The one that sticks out to me that blew up the slate, in my opinion, which was Hopkins being out,
mhm.
and that opened up everything for me because Dortch is like $3,000, and if you have a low owned guy that's getting, I think he had 13 targets last week alone, he's going to get peppered once again. It's almost to a point where you can potentially lock button him, and then you can just build around him. But I'm not
Well,
going
I
to.
don't mind that stack either because you got Drake London in that game. You have Tyler Algier, you have James Conner. So there's some good pieces right there that are super cheap, and I think it'll be a sneaky build.
Yeah, and getting to those stacks as we will hit right into it. There's only two like clear cut games that I think we need to stack,
Hmm.
and the one that I'll dive into real quick is Detroit Chicago. It's the highest. I think it's 52 and a half point total. And I'm gonna do it two different ways. So on the Chicago side, we're gonna go a 2x1 stack, which is on display here. So you can either go Fields or Montgomery, or Fields and Komet. So those are the two ways I'm gonna
Yeah.
exploit it. And then I'm gonna always bring it back with either St. Brown or Chark. I'm negating the the running back situation with Swift and Jamal, and now there's Justin Jackson in there. If you went upside, I would say go Swift. If you want to make the safe play, probably go Jamal, but I'm going to go with St. Brown or Chark. And if you want to get completely different on the back end as a run back, maybe do like Raymond or Reynolds. But Chark and I think Brown are the way to
Oh
go
yeah.
in this
Yeah.
particular stack. And then if you flipped it, you would go Goff. I'm going to go 3x1 with the Detroit side with Goff, Chark, and Brown, and then you come back with Komet or Montgomery. And then if you want to get completely crazy with it, I don't think you have to. If you want to play St. Brown on the Bears side, so there's two brothers going at each other. If you want to play that narrative, thinking that they might ball out against one another, that's more of a high risk, crazy play. If you're okay with losing some money with that, I mean, I might have a little bit of that, but I think diving in, like you got Dante Pettis, you got Claypool as well that potentially suits up. It's just tough to know who can go off on that side. So I like the safer route going with the 3x1 stack on the Detroit side. You got
See, it's
any?
hard. It's hard too because Fields is a little banged up. But this Detroit pass defense is so terrible that you kind of have to play Fields, I think. But I prefer this Detroit stack, especially Jared Goff at home, who's been on an absolute tear this year in Detroit.
Yeah.
So this the one that's showing right now, the Goff, Chark, St. Brown, and Komet's probably my favorite stack that you have. I think Komet has a very big game. The only thing I don't like is that you can, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, is that you can find probably better tight ends. So
Yeah, tight
maybe
end is incredibly strong
it
this week.
is. It
Yeah,
is.
and it usually is. It's usually you either playing Kelsey or you're playing a random. Now I don't even think we need to touch Kelsey this week because there's so much value.
Right. Right. So that would
But
be my only downside is the $4,500 for Komet to me
yeah,
just seems a little high. But I think he's gonna have a good game. He had what was it, 4 catches, 45 yards, the first game against Detroit this year. So
yeah, and Komet always has that 2 touchdown ability.
mhm,
If they throw it in the red zone, it's going to be to Komet more than likely. It's just if they do, because they
right.
love running the football. Fields is chasing that all-time rushing record. His line's at like 70 and a half. I mean, he's going to just tuck it and go with it. That's why if you are playing that side, you got a 2x1, and I don't think he can support a 3x1. I wish I could bring it back with Justin Fields
I
in this
know.
Goff, Chark, or Brown one, but obviously you cannot do that. But that, yeah, this is a chalky build. I mean, this is going to produce, but if you stack it, that's where you're still going to have to get a little bit different in those other areas at wide receiver or running back. That can get you different. Again, the field only does this less than 1% of the time, and that being a 3x1 stack. So you necessarily, it's okay to have a chalky stack, so to say, and then build around that a little bit
Right.
to get unique with it. But what's your stack of the week here?
So I'm going with the other
Yeah.
division game, which would
Yep.
be the Packers versus Minnesota here. And I am going to stack the Green Bay side just because I think there's a little bit more value on this side than if you were to stack the Vikings side. So you got Rodgers, who I think is going to put up more points than Kirk Cousins this week. So that's why I like this side a little bit better. Um, and you can get him at 6,000. You don't have Watkins this week, so I think there's a ton of value with Lazard and Dobbs. So I didn't put Dobbs in this. If you wanted to take Dillon out, you could put in Dobbs, but I think Dillon's the play. Um, Over the last few weeks, he's gotten 20 fantasy points. He's not getting a ton of touches, but he's scoring, and I think that's the key here with
Big
him.
time.
You have to come back with Jefferson. You and I had talked about it off air about potentially coming back with Hawkinson, mainly because of the big week he had last week. But again, his pricing to me is just off. I'd rather spend a little bit extra money here and get Jefferson and try to find a cheaper, more valuable tight end. Just because I think his price is a little high because of last week.
Yeah, and the Packers are a lot better against tight ends
Yeah.
than the Giants are. And if you think that he's going to get all those dump offs that he had last week against the Giants, I don't think it's going to be the case whatsoever. This Green Bay team is playing determined. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I think this is going to be a little bit more of a battle than I think. You know, Rodgers, obviously can ball out. He has had that thumb injury. He has not thrown a lot of volume, but I still think that he's the right side in this matchup as you're taking them. They're favored by 3 at home here, and Jefferson has a tough matchup against Alexander. So you could maybe not bring it back with Jefferson and maybe go Thielen or Osborne to get a little bit different.
But I
But
like the trash talk that's been going on between the
yeah,
two. So
tons of trash talk with between those two. So yeah, there's definitely going to be fireworks there.
yeah.
Uh, but you could use that and say, okay, let's go Thielen, let's go Osborne, and maybe get a little bit better matchup there. But this side of it, I would maybe tend to go Aaron Jones over Dillon, just because he's completely off the injury report. Maybe he's finally over his shin injury, and then if Watson is out, which we don't know yet, he's still questionable. We'll see probably either late this evening or early tomorrow. If he does, then Jones, I think his receiving yards and receptions should go through the roof. If they say he's fully healthy, I think Jones edges out Dillon with the upside there.
So just off of your point here, and this is why I lean Dillon more. AJ Dillon's $5,800 compared to Aaron Jones, who's $7,100. The projection for Dillon is 14.3, where Jones is 14.8, and the ceiling for Dillon's 21.5, where Jones is 20.8. So I think they're in the same ballpark. I mean, just the eye test, obviously we want to go Jones, but statistically, I think Dillon's the better pick for value.
Yeah, and we have a great comment here. Dr. Tequila says Jay Jetta is 209 yards away from Calvin's record. So you definitely have that motivational side, and that's a great point to put out, that he definitely will be trying to get his, and he absolutely owned the Packers last time they played. Alexander has been talking a lot of smack there and saying that was just a fluke. So, that it's definitely a way you can play it, and you can build your lineup accordingly to that. So, obviously, bringing it back this way with Jefferson is definitely higher upside. But if you want to get completely different and you want to have a little bit of salary relief there, maybe not having Jefferson go somewhere else, Thielen or Osborne is definitely the way to go there. Is there any?
Or you could come back on the other end and take Lazard out, and you could play Dobbs.
Play Dobbs, yeah.
Get about $1,000 relief there.
If Watson gets ruled in, how would you utilize this stack then? Like you got to put Watson in, right?
Maybe go Lazard, Watson.
Yeah.
And just because Lazard's been super consistent, he's going to get you at least 10 points, and this Vikings secondary is pretty soft. So I like the passing game. So stack those receivers instead if Watson can play.
Yeah, I definitely would not go Dillon and Jones in the same lineup. We've had that discussion before with Zeke and Pollard. I don't think you need to get there necessarily this week with Dillon and Jones together. I think, like you said, with the weak secondary of the Vikings, you can get Lazard, Dobbs, or Watson. And if Watson is out, Randall Cobb did run a little bit more snaps with Watson out to get a little bit more different. You could always throw Cobb in there as that one-off, lower owned piece that could potentially boom and get you up those leaderboards. So he's more in the sleeper range for me when we start talking about those. That if Watson is out, I would throw in Cobb in a few of my lineups just because he did run a lot more snaps with him out.
See, realistically, all four of those receivers I would consider a sleeper pick. So even if you're not going to stack the Vikings Green Bay, you're still getting these guys super cheap, and they should have a pretty successful outing. So you got Lazard at 5,400. His ceiling's 18.5. You got Watson at 5,900 with a ceiling of 19. Cobb's 3,800 with a ceiling of 12. And Dobbs is 4,700 with a ceiling of 14.2. But the ownership goes Lazard 8, Watson 6.3, and then the other two are under 2.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, everyone's going to flock to Lazard for sure.
Yeah.
And for good reason. I mean, he's in a great matchup, big receiver, definitely can go up and get it. So we definitely see it, but you can definitely get different as long as Watson is out. Maybe throw Cobb in there for sure.
I'm a little surprised that ownership on that.
To be a little bit
because of the matchup. I know Aaron Rodgers in this offense hasn't done a ton of stuff this year, but
I think it's going to be cold there too. So it could be smash mouth. I don't know. It's it's a weird week with stacks. I mean, these are the two clear cut ones. Do you have any other ones that you're kind of leaning on that you thought about doing? I have a couple. I haven't started building with those particular ones to see if I liked or not. I obviously build with these two, and I like the way it's coming out.
The Giants
are a different run. Yep.
I think Daniel Jones has a pretty good game. I know the Colts are kind of middle of the road for fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks, but I just think Daniel Jones' capability of running the ball is going to help him, and he's had a pretty good past couple of games where he's had a couple of touchdown passes. So I think him, Barkley, because the Colts give up a ton of fantasy points to
Yep.
running backs. So I think Barkley would be a good piece. And then you got Richie James on the other side, who has been a target hog. Um, or
It's
not on
true.
the other side, but on the outside.
Mhm.
So I like Richie James. And then you could come back with you could come back with either Pittman or Zach Moss, I guess. If I had
We got a
if my
couple
hands
Colts
were
fans
tied
here that just
here.
do
I
not like
know.
talking about their
Well,
talking about their
you
team.
know Zach Moss is going to get the touches because they have that void to fill with Taylor out, and we didn't see Jackson at all last week. So I think Zach Moss has really earned the touches here. So you can get him pretty cheap. I don't think he's going to do anything great, but I know the Giants kind of struggle against the run a little bit. So I kind of lean Zach Moss. But it's just that other side that's a little hard because you don't know who's going to produce each week.
Right. Yeah, and for those tuning in for the first time and maybe diving into DFS for the first time, how we kind of verify our stacks is we're always trying to look at the game environment that can explode. Easiest way to kind of to look at that is the totals on the lines at sportsbooks. And if they have the two highest totals, there's 52.5 for the Bears Lions, and then it's 47.5 now for the Vikings Packers. Everything else, the only one that sniffs that is the Chiefs Broncos at 45. And you definitely could go 3-by-1 with the Chiefs, but I'm highly doubt anybody's going to go with the Broncos side. You could maybe run it back with Judy.
Judy.
Now that Dolchich is out, and then you got Sutton as well. That'd be another recommendation in my eyes. You could always go the
And that's
Chiefs.
going to be super pricey too. I just
Very
don't think the
expensive.
value's there for what you're getting.
Yeah, and it's a 12.5 point favorite as well. When you're dealing with double digit favorites, sometimes it's best to 3-0 stack where you're not bringing anybody back from that Bronco side because it is going to be a dumpster fire, and so to speak. But the other one that I was looking at, I mean, you just look at all these other totals; they're high 30s, low 40s. It just doesn't stand out to you. The only one that I could see is maybe the Chargers, and then you run it back with somebody from the Rams, thinking Baker still has some magic.
Higbee.
Higbee went off. You saw Akers go off. Akers is a nice play because you still have the Chargers who can give up some yardage on the ground, and then you maybe Van Jefferson. Like they have pieces that could make it competitive, and they're still playing pretty motivated with Baker trying to tell the world that he still can play in the NFL. That'd be the only other side. I would obviously stack the Charger side there 3-by-1 it because you could still go with Williams. You could still go with Allen. Yeah,
You gotta go Allen. He's been incredible since he's returned.
Yeah, he's been. I mean, lethal. He's went back to his old form.
Yeah,
that last game was exciting to watch out of him. So those would be my other two sides. The Chargers and then the Chiefs. So, what do you think about Philly? You got anything there?
I don't mind it.
Yeah.
I think Minshew. I mean, I'm surprised that this guy's not on a starting
Colts.
roster here. Yeah,
the
like
Colts, yeah.
there's so many teams out there that could use this guy. So I think he is serviceable. You got AJ Brown and Smith still. You got Goddard.
And they're chasing records. They're chasing the all-time receiving records. Both of them are trying to reception totals. They're trying to chase them together. So do you got that motivational side here? The Eagles is not a bad side. You could always come back with Kamara. You could always come back with if you want to get crazy with it,
maybe some Hill.
Yeah, him or Juwan Johnson. If you want to go a cheap tight end, Juwan Johnson's out there who's producing. It's just not exciting on the back end with the Saints, but it is supposed to be a 5.5 total. And Minshew, they said last week they could have 80% of the offense still with him at under center, and it showed. So he could still do everything besides run the football. That's what it looked like. So I don't think this offense went backwards, so to speak, whatsoever, and they're bouncing back off of that loss. Eagles at home, not a bad idea as well.
Can I can I ask you guys
Yeah.
a question live on air about daily
Of
fantasy?
course,
Because I'm a complete newbie, never done it before. How do
of
you guys
course.
decide what like tournaments to enter and stuff? Is there a method or that to that or anything? It's just been on the
Great.
entry fee or
No, no, that's a great question. So, yeah, so definitely decide your bankroll and how much. Like, if you like risk, go. If you can tolerate risk, you can go with those big contests. But if you go to like DraftKings or if you go to FanDuel, all they're going to show you is those featured contests that have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, and you're very rarely going to win those.
Right.
And if you are going to cash in those, it's going to be min cash. So the best way to start out is there's like beginner tabs. Click those beginner tabs, and they go to from like 1 to 100 with contest wise, and you go in there. They're like 50 ups, 50-50s, double ups, and head to heads. Those are the best way to go. Those are the best contests if you're starting out, because then you only have to beat 10 people. You only have to beat one guy. You only have to beat 7 people or whatnot. So yeah, we can do a whole video on that. That's another beast. But that's
And
a great
you and
question.
I actually have different strategies for that because you play more of those tournaments
Yeah.
where I was always taught you play like 2 or 3 to 1, more of your like double ups, your head to heads, just to kind of build that bankroll and keep that bankroll. Because
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it's me versus 10 other people, I feel pretty confident that I will compete for that.
Exactly.
Whereas the
Yeah.
tournament, it's a lot of stacks. It's a lot of people just putting in random people that go off. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a little harder
Yeah.
to hit.
I've always said that if you're going to play a tournament, it's like you're cashing. You have to cash a 10-leg parlay, and to hit it. And everyone knows from capping, it's really hard to hit a 10-leg parlay or a 9-leg parlay, how many other spots there are. But that's how right you have to be in those high risk, the 100,000 people lineups. Now there's like 300. I remember the first million of the year that had
Insane.
over like 300, 400,000 people in it. It's like it's really hard to beat those. So
Yeah.
starting out, look at those head to heads, look at those double ups, 50-50s. So we're
And I
50.
try to stay away from the multiple lineups also. That's
Yeah,
just
and
a
that's
preference for me. I know we're giving you multiple lineups and you may want to play all of them in a tournament, but I just like having the one lineup for a tournament.
yeah, and there's single. Yeah, what he's talking about. There's single entries. There's 3 entry. Then there's the 20 max and 150 max. You go to any professional player, they're going to be 150 maxing left and right. They're running algorithms. They have Excel files. They have models. They're doing everything, and
They have a
just
bankroll to
well
to do it
yeah.
also. So,
But I'm mainly 20 max. I think 20 max is my sweet spot with it. I've tried the 150 max, and I've gotten a little bit lost more of because I can't keep up with my exposures the way I want to. So in 20 max, I can maneuver every single one of my lineups, which I like. 150 max, I'm kind of picking and choosing. Oh, I really like that one. I don't like this one, and it gets a little bit. That's why they're professionals with it. They have to sit down and do it. 20 max is more of the way I go, and it's nothing to go bad with single entry for guys who don't have enough time to go after it. So yeah, definitely a good question, and we can make a video on kind of the best way to go about it bankroll wise for you guys, and from there. So you want to get into some sleepers?
yeah.
We already said a couple, but we can go ahead and say them pretty quickly on here.
Right. So basically, we talked about the Green Bay guys. I think Drake London has a ton of value this week. Ever since Ritter has been named the quarterback, I mean, this guy's blown up. He's kind of gone back to how he was the first few weeks, and he's pretty cheap. I think he's 4,900. So I really like him. I like James Conner. I like Algier just because his usage has gone up a lot. Um, yeah, I would say those three guys are right there with who you need to take this week.
Yeah, and the one that sticks out to me this week now that Antonio Gibson is out is going to be Brian Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
He is not much of a sleeper, but I think he at 5,200, he's still only garnering about 10% ownership. I would assume that goes up a little bit, but still 10% is too low. I'm going to be overweight on the field on him. And then the one I did just say was Cam Akers. He's coming at 5%, which with his role, Kyron Williams was supposed to be this guy. And for whatever reason, McVay's just like, I'm just going to ride with Akers the rest of the way. There's a pretty good matchup with the Chargers, and he's coming in at 5%. So I like him. One other guy is, for whatever reason, everyone's just off the Jerick McKinnon phase.
And he scored like every week.
Right. And now he's 4% projected. So go back to the Jerick McKinnon role. You know, Pacheco is going to get his. He always does. Those double-digit favorites, he's going to get his. But they're still going to put up points. They're still going to throw the football, and McKinnon will be in that rotation. Go ahead and throw McKinnon in those lineups. You got any receivers?
Yeah, I like Richie James.
Yep.
Just because his target share has been pretty high. I like the Jets receivers this week. With Mike White back, so that's gonna increase the value for those guys. Yeah, that's another game I was kind of looking at to stack too.
Which one?
The Jets one.
I was just about to say I'm so mad everybody's back on Garrett Wilson because I love him this week.
I know.
He's like 20% projected owner. I was like, God dang it. Like I was hoping to get like 10 to 15 and then I could put like 30 or 40%, but I still may go 30 or 40, but it's just not going to be as much over the field as I want to be. But I mean, he's in a smash spot and he's got his quarterback back. He should ball out.
You got to play Dotson also.
Dotson. There you go.
This
he scored a touchdown like
he's been
3 out of 4 games.
Yeah, he's been insane. He's $4,600 right now.
Yep.
And he's a guy that's I'm in a best ball fantasy league, and I picked up Dotson like 4 weeks ago off of waiver wires, and he's been plugged into my starting rotation ever since. He's been incredible. So I think $4,600 for him is a pretty good price.
And speaking on motivational factors, the Jaguars, they don't need to play anybody. I don't know if they're going to play everybody. The quote from Peterson is, "Our starters will start," and nobody knows how long. And they're in a great matchup. You want to play ETN,
I know,
100%, but maybe you pivot to
the
Hasty.
lines haven't even really dropped for that game either because of that.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, do they play a half and then you have Hasty and a really, really great matchup for half? It's just a tough spot. I'm probably going to fade that game completely just because I don't know, and maybe go a little bit towards a little bit more of the more surefire things. But I can't put myself to put ETN in one of my lineups and then he gets benched in the second quarter when they're up 14-0 or something like that. I couldn't stomach it. But if you are coming back with the Texans side at all, Brandon Cooks once again, Chris Moore, and then you still have Burkhead, who's actually still producing at some crazy rate. So he always is there. But another wide receiver, maybe he's probably going to jump up. He's still on my projection, still under 7%. Is Marquise Brown. I know everybody, if you play Dortch, you get 3,000, but Marquise Brown at 5,500 is stupid low. If now that Hopkins is out, Marquise Brown as well. So those two would be highly owned for me. And then obviously if Watson's out on those Green Bay Packers receivers. You got any? You want to talk tight end real quick as we finish up DFS?
Yeah. So I like Ingram this week. I know we just said that they may not play their starters the whole time, but I think he has a great matchup. Goddard, I think, has a great matchup. Higbee is $4,600. Another guy that has a great matchup. So those are three guys that I would kind of look at. Now, one of the my projections show Jelani Woods should have a breakout game, but I'm not buying it. But
not buying it.
But at $2,800, if you need a guy, that's cheaper than defenses, I think Jelani Woods could be a sneaky play. He's projected number 2 on my projections for overall tight ends in terms of value to production.
And how many catches did he have last game? Was it 2, 3?
Yeah.
He was involved early, and then obviously everything went downhill. But mine would be Tyler Conklin. He's in a great matchup against the Seahawks. And we have been talking about Mike White coming back, possible stack that game. Geno does have some incentives in his contract if they make the playoffs. He could get paid a little bit more. I'm just not going to go that route with Seattle, but I do like that Mike White's back. Conklin at $2,900, very, very cheap. Still less than 10% owned. So Conklin's a very, very nice piece here. The other one probably would have to be, I probably already said him, but probably Juwan Johnson. It's just if you really, really need somebody to get different for you in that range at 3,500, Juwan might be your guy. But I would default to Tyler Conklin at 2,900 if you're going to go with a sleeper tight end. You want to talk any defenses? There's like 2 that are like in smash spots that everybody will be on this week. So
who do you think they are?
It should be the 49ers and the Pats, and then now the Falcons.
Giants.
Okay. Well,
the Giants. There you go.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Giants, but the issue with them is they're $3,900.
Yeah, they are expensive.
So and because of their price, they're only 2.7% owned. But typically, what you and I try to do is stay away from expensive defenses.
Yeah, I always try to punt them.
Yeah, but I do think the Giants are probably the play.
I mean, there are different ways to save some salary this week. So if you want to pay up for defense, you definitely
can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah, it's always tough because it's such a variant position where you could pay up and be like, and like the Broncos, they paid up a couple weeks ago against the Rams and got 50 points put up against them. So it's just, there's not like a smash. It could be a smash spot, but then you get 50 points hung on you. So my top 3 are the 49ers, Patriots, and then the Falcons. I know we've said that there's some value with Dortch and Brown. If you have those 2 in your lineup, obviously do not play the Falcons defense. You play them in a different lineup. You never want to play somebody that's in one of your positions against one of your defenses. They just counteracts against one another and limits your upside.
So those 3 defenses are the 3 top for ownership. And they're the 3 top for points. But I kind of like this Jets.
Yep.
What are they? 5.3% ownership, 2,800 with a ceiling of 11.8.
Could see it.
Yeah.
So Geno's throwing the ball a little bit more. Yeah.
And I kind of like that spot for them. So
plus they need to win because they've lost 4 straight or whatnot.
Even the Packers might not be a bad play. They did do pretty well against the Dolphins last week, and they're $2,300.
Kirk Cousins pick 6 helps you out there at home. So at 2,300, I mean, obviously, if you're stacking that game, don't put him as your defense.
Oh
if you're not stacking that game, it's definitely a punt piece that we've seen how Cousins plays in the cold. He definitely can throw some. So not a bad idea there. I like that. So if you guys do have any other questions with our DFS strategies, DFS plays, whatnot, hit us up in the Discord. Throw them in the chat here. We'll answer them as well. David, thanks for tuning in. He says, I like the Chargers defense. Chargers defense against the Rams. They're coming in at 3,700 on DK. You'd just be fading Baker, and it's not a bad position to go to because you
I just don't
wouldn't
like the
expect.
price.
Yeah, we are always proponents of maybe punting the position but there are ways to get different this week with some salary relief and positions. You can go the Chargers defense. It has been very good as of late. I think the last 3 or 4 weeks they're number 1 rated. So you're going to pay up for them. They're in a pretty good spot here. You would bank that Baker cannot keep doing what he's doing. So I can definitely see Baker throwing a pick 6 with that. So I don't mind that, David, whatsoever. All right, we want to get to some props here. We'll go through them pretty quickly. We'll probably be here till about 4 p.m. Eastern. David also says Brian Robinson is my running back sleeper. Yes, sir. I mentioned him earlier. He's in a smash spot.
Yep.
The Browns defense, however, has been playing a lot better. But there's the volume that he's going to have this week. You got to play him. So 100% on board with you there with Brian Robinson. So let's get into some props. If you guys do have any other questions with DFS or props, throw them in the chat. Love to hear from you guys. Side, you want to kick it off?
Yeah. So my first pick, which you got me a little worried about with this talk about Jacksonville not playing their guys, but I'm going Evan Ingram over, what do I have it at? I think it's 40. Oh no, I lost it.
Was it 42, I think?
50. Over 50.5 receiving yards at over 47.5 receiving yards at minus 115. And the big reason is because of his target share over the past 4 weeks. So in the last 4 weeks, sorry, my thing's all jacked. So over the last 4 weeks, we have seen him get 8, 10, 15, and 7 targets. So they're going to him. The Texans don't fare well against tight ends. If you've tuned in, I've kind of picked on the Texans over the past few weeks. And I'm going to do it again. I think he hits this number. If he plays the whole time, he's going to hit this number. So hopefully they play the whole time.
That's my only concern with this. I told everybody that I'm off of this game completely. Don't know how it's going to go. You saw the Titans rest all their guys. The Jaguars are
I feel like they have. I feel like they have to. I feel like they have to take a shot. Texans have already beaten them once this year. The Texans have been playing teams tight, so it's not going to be a cakewalk game for them. And they're going to need to either win this one or they're going to need to beat Tennessee next week.
Yeah, it's just the game doesn't matter to them. That's the problem. Like they could lose this one, and then if they win next week, they're in. So I could see where they get maybe a series, maybe a quarter, maybe a half.
I think they just try to win this one.
Yeah,
you got to try to beat Houston.
I'm gonna try to get on some beat writers tonight and see them in the morning and see kind of where we're at, and then that'll kind of help rostering them and DK or whatnot. But I just don't. I don't blame you. If they play the entire game, this is a smash spot, and this is a no-brainer. But I think that line is set for that reason. But Evan Ingram has been a revelation for that for his whole career. He was a bust in the Giants, and they traded him. They said, all right, not going to pay you this much money. Takes a 1-year deal, bets on himself, and now he should be handsomely paid after this year. So
see what happens when you go out and you get skill guys on your roster.
Yeah, I agree.
Take notes, Colts. Gotta pay some people here this offseason.
All right. Speaking of the Colts, that'll pivot to my first play, which got absolutely hammered by these 2 Colts fans here for taking it. But I'm gonna go against them. They don't like it, but I'm going Michael Pittman over 5.5 receptions plus 105. I got. He just is a target hog for this team. They're going to be down more than likely. And I know that Jeff Saturdays came out and said they want to have more explosive plays, throw to their playmakers from Pittman and, Jelani Woods you saw come out. But Pittman's their guy. He's going to be their guy. And you have seen from the props.cash graph down here, just 6 targets. And if you look over on props.cash website, they have their history against the Giants. Not the Giants. Who are they? No, they play the Giants. Yeah, sorry. Against the Giants, Jefferson had 12. Hawkinson had 13. Terry had 6. Terry had 8 against them last time. So, CeeDee Lamb had 6. The wide receiver ones can go off against these guys. And as long as Nick Foles stays upright and give him some time to throw, I think Michael Pittman is a smash spot to get 7-8 receptions this week. I'm not going to do his receiving yards, but I like his receptions. But please hate on it all you want.
It's not that I hated it.
Tell me.
I hate Foles is more of what it is.
I don't mind Foles. I feel like he gives you guys a chance. He just needs to, I don't know, maybe stay in the pocket a little bit more and stay a little upright. Crickets from the Colts fans. Crickets.
It's more defeat.
I like it. By the way, make sure you guys are subscribing to props.cash with promo code on the dot. You'll get 25% off your monthly subscription. So use a code on the dot at props.cash. Love those guys over there. Love their platform. We appreciate them quite a bit. So go ahead with your second play, Side.
All right. So I'm going Christian McCaffrey over 25.5 receiving yards. I know he was a little banged up this week, but he should be ready to go. And the Raiders are terrible against the pass. And this is a smash spot for Christian McCaffrey. He's been hitting this mark all year. I've played McCaffrey pretty much every week, so I'm going to keep rolling with it. It's just a good spot for him. No Debo again, so his usage is still going to be insane. I just think you kind of have to play this. I think it's a low line for him.
For CMC, right? Yeah. He is in one of the greatest spots of the week for DFS purposes, and I think overall for his usage, he should be absolutely smashed this week. So I love this play from you. Over 25.5 receiving yards. You can take his total yards, take anytime touchdown, put it all together. I'm all on the CMC train this week.
I like Brock Purdy too.
You text me about Purdy.
Yeah, I'm there. I think he's gonna get it.
Yeah.
It's at 215 for his passing yards, and he's pretty much hit it every week since he's been a starter. And this Raiders secondary is gross.
Yep.
I know there's no Debo, but it's not going to matter.
And the Raiders, you just don't know their motivational factors.
It's a dumpster fire. They're all quitting.
Yeah, so they're all quitting. Exactly. So it could be 21-0 after 3 drives for Purdy. And I don't know. Well, I'm okay with Brock Purdy. I'd rather play CMC and Kittle. So we have a couple comments here. David says, I may be crazy, but I'm in on Russell Wilson 2 passing touchdown props. Think the Hackett firing got the teammates backing him, and they're trying to get his mentals rebounded headed into 2023. Well, that's an interesting comment, and I saw like Judy, Hinton, Hamler all come to his defense on Twitter. And I mean, what do you think of that? I think that's a pretty good angle.
The whole situation is just a dumpster fire. Like, I want nothing to do with it. I'm mad because I drafted Russell Wilson, so I had high expectations, and it's just been, I don't know. I feel like everyone else. And I don't know if I want to go there.
It's an interesting route, and they are in the 3rd highest total. You got to think 12.5 point favorites. They put up 28 against the Chiefs a couple weeks ago. I mean, I could see it. I don't mind that 2 passing touchdowns props from Wilson. You think he gets a little bit more of a bump there with Hackett firing. I know he said he felt bad that he didn't play as well but that could just be all for publicity there. I think Russell
He's
could
gone
ball out.
over 1.5 twice this year.
Oh, what's that one? The guy's counting how many toilets he has in his house to passing touchdowns, and it's still going, which is wild as hell. So yeah, I get it. It's I'm going towards the narrative there that I like where David's head's at there, and I might flirt with it. I won't decide yet. But then he also says if it was 5, I would love Pittman. 6, I'm 50-50. Then he said he's going to smash the CMC receiving props. And Austin asked about Kittle. What do you think about Kittle this week?
I think he has a good matchup. Like I said, that this was a game where I was teetering with stacking. But it comes down to how long does San Fran keep their guys in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and how long is this game competitive exactly?
Right.
So
but I like the kid. What's Kittle's yards? I didn't even look at him, but I like him from a fantasy standpoint because he has a good matchup. But I didn't look at his line because I opened it. I saw CMC 25.5 receiving yards. I saw Brock Purdy 215 passing yards, and I was like, oh my God, this is a gift. So
I think it was, let's see, let me pull it up real quick. On DraftKings, it's 44.5 minus 120. What do you think?
if they use them like they have the past couple weeks, then absolutely. And again, you don't have Debo, so you're gonna need another guy to throw the ball to. Last week he had 120. The week before that he had 93.
Yeah,
so
he's been balling.
Yeah.
If you've waited for him in fantasy, and shout out to anybody who is watching that is in a fantasy championship this weekend. I wish you guys all the luck in the world. If you guys have any questions on that, let us know for sure. Any other comments we got? We got one more. We got Austin says, how are we feeling about Jerry Jeudy versus the Chiefs? So we talked about that in the DFS earlier this in the show. I'm a fan of Jerry Jeudy this week. I know he missed practice about I think midway through the week with an injury. He's fully ready to go this week, and he's going to be definitely utilized. You got Sutton there, Sutton back, but I think Wilson and Jeudy have formed a very good relationship, and he came to his defense on Twitter and publicly. So I think Jeudy can score this week or have a good through the air game. But give me all Jeudy this week. What do you think? You like him?
Yeah.
I think it's a good game script. I think it's a good game script for him for sure. So I'm on him.
I think it's just that offense terrifies me. I think I've only bet.
It can't get worse. It cannot get any worse. So give me Jeudy.
I've only bet at the beginning of the year tight end props because they
beginning of the year. Yeah,
because they were like 10 yards.
Yeah,
I was like, he can get 10 yards. And then come to find out they can't get 10 yards.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I just kind of stopped with Denver.
With Denver, yeah, exactly. All right, let's get to my second prop of the week. We're gonna go with a great matchup: Panthers Bucks for the division title.
Woo.
And I'm gonna go with Lenny, playoff Lenny in full form, and over 26.5 receiving yards. As you guys can see from Props.Cash, it has been a cash cow this entire season. A lot of green. I believe it keeps going. The one reason I really like this, I've seen his snap count go through the roof the last 2 weeks over Rachaad White. Rachaad White was trying to come back into it. I think, and Lenny put out a tweet that he was dealing with an injury, and then he deleted it. So I think he had that injury for a while, and it never got out there publicly that it was that bad. So that's why we saw a lot of Rachaad White. Now I think Leonard is a lot more healthy. You've seen this offensive line have a ton of issues, and they cannot run the football. Their way of moving the football is through the screen games and their running backs. That's how they utilize their run game, and that's where Lenny comes into play here. Over 26.5. I'm going to call it on the stream. I think this gets there by halftime easily. This is one of my. I'm going to call it. It just makes so much sense here in a very, 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 very important game. They're not going to probably rely on Rachaad White. They're going to rely on their Brady, Evans, Godwin, Fournette. It's going to be Fournette and utilize the pass game out of the screen game. So give me all of Lenny over 26.5.
Okay. There you have it.
Hopefully I convinced a lot of people of that.
I mean, the graph speaks for itself.
Exactly. Yep. So we'll see. I like the Bucs in this game too. I'm not gonna. The Panthers have been playing very well with Darnold under center. I think they're 2-1 with him there, and right in the division with them to take it if they win this game. I know the Bucs are a little bit more beat up, but I'm going to take experience and go with Brady to sneak it out, and then Brady, Evans, Godwin, Fournette, and then their defense to shut down Darnold. So, all right, Lou, you want to get your third and final prop here?
Yeah, so I'm rolling with Dallas Goedert over 42.5 receiving yards at -115. Another guy I've been playing a lot all year. This is just too low. His usage is ridiculous, through the roof. I know he has to compete with AJ Brown and with Devontae Smith, but this is a guy that when he catches the ball, it's usually for a long gain. I think it's around 20 plus yards a reception. So he should get about 4 or 5 catches. And we should hit this one pretty easily. He's hit it. I mean, last week he came back. He had 67. The week before that, he was kind of hurt. Then he had 164. So this is a guy that can easily hit this number.
And it's heavily involved.
And it's a good matchup for him too.
Yeah. I'm totally fine with this one. I know he said earlier that Brown and Devontae are going after the reception totals in a single season for the Eagles. But Goddard is definitely in play here for receiving wise. He's going to have a lot of room to run in the middle of the field there. So give me all of Dallas this week too.
Saints don't cover tight ends very well, so I like Goddard right here.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. We got a question from Austin. He says, "Have you guys talked about Fields' rush yards yet?" Yeah, that is the talk of the town. It's not an official play of mine. Side's throwing that up. He's going to get to him of what he likes of him, but I'm not going to be on his rush yards. I can see why everybody would be on his rush yards, and I do not blame anybody for being on his rush yards. But I just think
just a lot of yards, but he hits it
tons. Yeah, tons. So
70. What is it? 76.
Yeah, I'm more utilizing him in my DFS lineups 2x1 in him against the Lions and utilizing that. But if you want to take his rush yards, 100%, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
All right. So my last prop of the week for us, we're going to go to the KC Broncos game, which we discussed. And this is just, I think we're getting a lot of value here. I know it's a little bit more juice than I normally give out. But this line is 61.5 on FanDuel, and I'm getting 57.5 here on DraftKings. So a nice discrepancy there. He's hit that in 7 straight games as the graph displays that. And once again, the Broncos are tough against receivers, tight ends, passing the football, but can be exposed on the ground. And 12.5 point favorite, nice little game script. I think I saw a stat. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I believe it was that he had the most rushing attempts as a double-digit favorite in the last 4 weeks or so. If they had a double-digit lead, so Pacheco, they really, really love this kid, and I think 60 is an easy task for him against this Broncos defense that gives up 117 on the ground per game. So give me all of Pacheco this week. He already had 70 against them 3 weeks ago too, so should be able to get there. Not opposed to, and like I said, McKinnon is going to be involved in the receiving part of the game, and he's going to have some some rushing attempts, but as you guys can see, if you go on props.cash, he's averaged 15 attempts his last 5 games. So he's heavily involved. He's the lead back there. They get a lead, double-digit lead, especially. They are definitely going to utilize him. So I got a question. Daniel, Eagles fans, says, do you think Eagles feed Sanders more in a bounce back narrative? He fumbled on the last series. The Eagles had a chance to win versus the Cowboys. What do you think about the Eagles there with Sanders?
Sorry, my
Oh, I was like, you hear me?
yeah, my kids are going nuts. Sorry.
I'll answer it then. I like Sanders this week. Give me more Sanders. He's I know the Saints are pretty dang good against the run. They are still going to need Sanders this year. They're not just going to abandon him whatsoever. Yeah, he made a costly fumble. Tons of guys do that. It did suck, but I do think that they end up feeding him. Yeah, I would say the same. I wouldn't say that they get him more involved whatsoever because Minshew can definitely provide the offense. But they could also go up 10-0 pretty dang quickly and say, okay, Miles Sanders, go ahead and take us the rest of the game. So I'm probably going to have some share of him in DFS. Don't think it's going to be overweight on the field whatsoever. Not a guy that I'm overly excited to roster, but I think you have to with his upside ability in a game that I think could potentially get away from the Saints and be double-digit dogs throughout the game.
I was gonna say something with Pacheco, just because if you're looking at that graph, the line's kind of tight to some of the weeks. I was gonna say you could SGP it.
Yep.
You could take him at 44.5, and then you could come back with Kelsey over 59.5 receiving yards.
Good. Yeah. And anytime Sidekick says SGP, you take that. He's got
The only reason why I didn't play many of them this week is because a lot of the lines weren't up.
Yeah. No, but I mean, yeah, you definitely it's a tight line, but I think you're getting a better value if you obviously played on DK. And if you want a same game, alternate line of them, go right ahead with Pacheco.
Oh, sorry. It is Pacheco over 44.5 rushing yards and Travis Kelsey over 59.5 receiving yards.
Oh yeah, what would that be? There you go. It's a good idea.
Oh, that's weird. It's on mine. There it is. That'll
work.
work.
There you go.
Yeah, so you could do something like that.
Kelsey 50 plus minus 400. That's insane. Love that. No, yeah, minus 113 though. Same game parlay. There you go. Live on stream, making you guys money right there. Boom. I like it.
I like that a lot.
All right, so those are our 3 favorite bets, or favorite prop bets. We got one anytime touchdown, and then we have our best bet, and we will wrap this bad boy up. And as always, if you guys have any additional questions, throw them in the chat. Love hearing from you guys. Who is your pick to click to score on Sunday?
I'm rolling with Justin Fields anytime touchdown. He didn't hit the last 2 weeks. Like I said, he was banged up a little bit last week. But he has a good matchup against a terrible Detroit defense. And at one point, we saw him cash this in 6 straight weeks. So love this spot for him.
I'm definitely down. Definitely down to ride. I know we had anytime you can get him plus money, you go right ahead to do that. We did say, they might throw the ball to Kmet in the red zone. They'd want to throw the football. Him and Montgomery are the catalysts there. So yeah, I'm okay with Fields at plus money here. That's over on FanDuel. I went and got Alan Lazard. It's at plus 145 now. So when I got it was plus 140 on FanDuel. He's actually plus 120 on DraftKings. So you get a little bit more value on FanDuel. he hasn't scored in a while. That's why I like him. He's gotten several, I think it's six weeks in a row here. That against a great matchup here, especially if Watson sits, he's going to be the main target in the red zone for Green Bay against. And he's a big receiver who can go up and get it. You've seen him getting targeted multiple times in the red zone. Week 16 alone against the Dolphins, he had 3 red zone targets, just did not come down with the football. So I'm okay with that. For Alan Lazard, and he's going to be utilized, especially without Watson. We got David in the chat says his is Brian Robinson anytime touchdown. Would you guys know the odds on that? Let me see what that is. I like that though. And then Dal Winder Singh just wants to remind everyone, bet what you can afford. A loved one who gambled every day developed heart disease. I like to think gambling played a factor. Sorry to hear that. But yes, I agree with the betting with the what you can afford tab. So everybody always bet responsibly. But yeah, we will get after it this week. So Lazard for me, anytime touchdowns, and Justin Fields for Side. Let's end this on our best bet of the week for week 17.
So you and I are kind of similar. You want to give yours first, and then I'll give the
basically we agreed on it.
Yeah.
And then you got a different version of it. So it's going to be for me Drake London over 57.5 receiving yards. If you've watched any Falcon game the last 3 weeks, especially the last 2 weeks with Desmond under center, he has peppered Drake London. And I've seen a lot of people say that they like his receptions more than his receiving yards. You can go right ahead and go with that too. He's hit 6, 7, and 7 in his last 3 weeks.
I couldn't find his receptions earlier.
I think it's 4.5 or 4.5 or 5.5, something like that.
I like that too. Both are really good.
Yeah. And just against this Arizona team that has depleted its secondary, and you've seen wide receivers go off against them all year long. Drake London can easily get 60 yards here. He's heavily involved. He's getting targeted double digits each and every game since Ritter has been the quarterback. So give me all of Drake London this week. And Side had he loved this play, but he went with the same game parlay. So give the people what they want there.
So on DraftKings, they don't have receptions for Drake London, which is,
let me see if I can find it.
At least on mine. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I didn't try to attack. That's what I was saying. Is like,
Not on FanDuel.
some of the
I think it was earlier in the week.
Haven't dropped yet.
Yeah,
so that's why some of these are a little weird. But I'm going Drake London over 44.5. I think he can definitely hit the mark that Dot is targeting here. But I'm just trying to be a little bit safe since it's my best bet. And I'm going James Conner over 59.5 rushing yards. Ritter loves Drake London. They don't really have anyone else. So he should definitely hit 44.5. And then if you look at James Conner's stats, he's hit this in 4 straight weeks and 5 of the last 6 weeks. So and it's a really good spot. The Falcons have allowed the 8th most rushing yards this season.
Mm-hmm.
So James Conner, give me all of them.
Yeah, if you want to add on to this, you can do Algiers rush yards.
Yeah,
like mid-tier, whatever, might be like mid-50s or something like that. His line's at 75.5, which I think is a bit steep because he's only hit over that one time this entire year. I know he's in a good spot, and I've seen a lot of people ride him up this week. So I would probably just take an alternate below it this week and maybe add it on to here. But love this play here from Side.
You could go under Patterson.
Yeah, Patterson's been he got overtaken with Algier taking over. I'm just always afraid that backfield's a little bit weird with the usage, and you could think one thing and then Arthur Smith says, "Oh, screw you," he's gonna do something completely different.
Yeah.
So I'm staying away there. But if I do anything, I would add Algiers rushing total rushing total yards, a little bit over, mid 50s or so to get that number a little bit higher. And David, he says 110 for Brian Robinson on FanDuel, 115 on DraftKings for B-Rob. So yeah, I think you probably could have got a better number if you took it with Gibson, but you never knew he was going to be in or out. So I like that line for B-Rob, and he's going to be in a bunch of my lineups this week for DFS. So want to round it out for us and kick us out of your side?
Yeah, just appreciate everyone tuning in, and we hope you guys have a good New Year's Eve.
Yeah, everybody drink responsibly, make good decisions tonight. As always, make sure you guys always bet responsibly, and make sure if you guys need to track your bets, make sure you guys check out Pickett Sports. They have a great app that you can track all of your bets there. And as always, you can tune in each and every week here on the Gold Boys Network and find myself at DotBets and at SideKicksPicks on Twitter. So make sure you guys, if you enjoyed the show, make sure you guys retweet it. Make sure you guys give us a thumbs up on YouTube and keep following on Twitch. So appreciate you guys tuning in.
Real quick, so we're just let me give the next couple of days schedule. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. for First and Gold with Brad Thomas, McAfee, and Will Hill. We'll be back Monday at noon for propping up with Wallet Bets and Griffey Bets for NHL. Tuesday, I think we're actually got Ryan and Brian Monday evening this week as well. And then Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern time for the Make is Open for the NBA show. Sorry, go ahead.
Sweet. Nope. Then that's perfect. Make sure you guys are tuning in to all the different shows that they have here at the Gold Boys Network. Everybody does a fantastic job throughout the way they cap. And what's awesome about it is everyone caps a little bit differently. So you can learn from each and every show. So with that, we will get up and out of here. Everybody have a safe and happy New Year, and let's cash some tickets to start the year.